Jack Russell and Sasha Duran here on behalf of Pop Culture Bento. We're at Otakon 2018. It's one of the East Coast's biggest Japanese and otaku anime culture celebrations. And we have a special guest today. We have Sungwon Cho joining us.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And, yeah, absolutely. So let's just get right into the questioning.
Sure.
That's not like an interrogation. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Questioning.
Yeah. Interrogation. Yeah.
What do you know?
Who do you
Where
work
were
for?
you?
Right,
Yeah.
So let's start off with Otakon specific questions.
Okay.
So based on our research, it's my understanding that this is like one of your first cons that you attended with your wife?
Like a long time ago, right? Otakon?
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
as
like
a
ever,
fan?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first con I went to as a fan, like 2000. I don't even know, like 8 or 9, a long time ago.
Yeah. So what have you noticed as you transitioned, I guess, from a fan to more of a like a guest, public-facing role? How has it changed, and what do you like about it versus other cons?
I mean, obviously it shifts, but even before I was attending cons as a guest, people started to recognize my face because of Vine and YouTube and that. So it kind of changes your experience because it makes it harder to get around. Like if one person wants a picture, then sometimes 20 people want a picture because they go, oh, it's that guy, it's that guy. So that's changed a bit. Coming as a guest is obviously a totally different experience because you're doing panels and autographs. And I find what I enjoy the most is just meeting fans and doing the panels with fans and then just meeting other guests and hanging out with guests. But yeah, that sort of the shift from coming as a fan, like an anonymous fan, to a guest has definitely been pretty significant.
Do you have like a strangest interaction story or something? Like I had a friend who had to sign a chicken nugget once.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, is there anything like that's happened to you that's like on that level?
Nothing too crazy. Probably stuff like signing body parts and like just like a mannequin head or just weird stuff like that. Yeah, but nothing too crazy.
I see. Well, so speaking of Otakon, it's a very J-centric convention. So shifting the conversation a little bit to Japanese culture at large, what are your favorite parts? What do you like about J culture the most? Like the food, music,
Anime.
And, what do you gravitate towards?
I mean, as far as Otakon goes, anime is what I'm about. But video games, the food. I'm not like a how you say a weeb about the culture as much. I mean, I think Japanese culture is cool, but I'm not like obsessed with it like a lot of people are. But I find I gravitate more towards the media side of it.
Right.
How did you fall into that, like growing up, like getting into anime in the first place?
I mean, I think a lot of people have had the same experience where it was like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, like on TV as a kid. Later on, I would discover stuff online. I mean, through not so legal means,
Right.
torrenting, but
Yeah.
that was the norm back then. Like Samurai Champloo, Toonami and Adult Swim, Cowboy Bebop, Naruto back in the day, stuff like that. And that's how I sort of got really into it, was discovering these more adult or at least teen-oriented shows.
Yeah. The bit that you had about like, oh, who's this? Like, what is this music? And you're like, oh, it's a band called Ikimonogakari.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one spoke to me because I fell into the J-pop first and then into the anime. And when you're like, yeah, Ikimonogakari, I was like, yeah, and Naruto. And like,
Right.
Yes,
We
it
all
was.
did that
Yeah, we all
sense
had
to
that
it.
same like.
I've had that conversation many times.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Japan, or do you want to? If not,
No, we're going this year
Oh,
for the first
cool.
time.
Right.
So
That's amazing.
It should be fun.
Tokyo, or are you?
Tokyo, yeah.
Tokyo, okay.
awesome. So let's shift a little more towards. Let's move it along to some of your live action
Yeah,
stuff.
some of your work. Yeah.
Most recently, at least for me, we both watched your Anime Crimes Division
yeah.
show, which was hysterical.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
And we saw online that you're in California filming the next season.
Right.
Can you give us any more information about that right now?
I can only give what has been already said publicly, but season 2 we filmed not that long ago. It's 6 episodes, and it's this time it's more of a continuing story, and the premise is that a serial killer is trying to reenact the saddest anime deaths of all time.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
What's been your experience working on that versus some of your other more solo or individual projects, or video game development? For example.
for me, I mean, doing that show, it's like a real film shoot. So it's very, very different. It's like 12-hour days. You gotta memorize scripts like the night before sometimes. A lot of physicality, especially in season 2. There's a lot more action stuff. So, I mean, I love it. I think it's one of the most difficult, but one of the most satisfying things I've done creatively is working on like this show. So I'm very, very happy with it.
Is your long-term goal to keep doing live action, or are you going, like, do you still prefer to do, like, voice or working on your own projects?
For me, I like acting in general,
Yeah.
whether that's voice acting or live action. Live action was not something I really considered myself pursuing. I was always more about voiceover from the beginning.
Right.
But after doing the show, I'm definitely more open to doing live action stuff. I just think that voiceover allows me to do a larger variety of roles than
Right.
just based off my physical appearance. But my goal is just to do as much acting, whether it's voice acting or live action, as much as I can.
Is that what motivated your move to the West Coast versus staying on the East Coast and trying to get acting opportunities over here?
Yeah, definitely. That was the main reason. I also signed with an agency,
Oh, okay.
so it was
Yeah.
kind of like, well, now it's time to make the next step to pursue more acting opportunities or not out here,
Yeah.
but out there. Yeah.
Let's talk about video games for a second.
Okay.
So
You provided the voices for the raccoons in the Donut County preview.
Sure.
Right. Is that extending into the game as well, or was that just the trailer?
That's
itself?
just the trailers, as
Okay.
far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also just we've been streaming like on and off Monster Prom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Really
so
great
as we went into the game really with like a zero level reading of it ahead of time. We didn't look into it. We just started playing it, and when we saw the credits, we saw your name and got
Sure.
excited. But what was your experience like working, providing voices for the interdimensional Prince
and Brian.
Brian?
Quickly,
Yeah.
It's funny because I haven't played the game yet, and
Yeah.
for me that was a very quick record.
Yeah.
Like I just one sitting just because there's not a ton of voice acting in the
No,
game. It's
it's
just
like a
like
lot
little
of the-
clips, right?
yeah.
So a lot of people really love the game and have been like, oh, I love the Interdimensional Prince or Brian or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but I like kind of don't remember like
was all a
exactly
blur.
what I did.
Yeah.
But they were fun characters. I saw the designs
Yeah.
beforehand, and so I had a lot of fun just coming up with voices and for them. So I had a good time.
Yeah. The first time we saw interdimensional Prince, we were like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, this character like gets a lot of reaction out of
Yeah.
people. So.
Are there other games that you're working on right now that you can tell us about, or are you not right now?
Not that I can
Not
tell
that
you
you can tell
about.
me. Okay.
I will say there are,
There are.
but I cannot talk about them.
Okay. Well, we're excited to find out when we do.
Cool.
Yeah.
you mentioned being influenced by video games earlier.
Sure.
Are there any that's on your radar right now? Like what are you playing nowadays or recently or
Recently,
Yeah.
I'm playing Pokemon Quest on my phone.
Okay.
It's a free-to-play
Yeah.
Pokemon game.
Yeah, I've got that on Switch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The last game on Switch I was playing was SteamWorld Dig 2.
Oh, yeah.
I've been enjoying that. I don't have as much time for video games as I'd like, but I try to make time for stuff like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But as far as what I want to play, the Yakuza games look really fun. I want to play those. I think that's probably my biggest priority next is those games.
What's your favorite genre then? Like, you like the action adventure? Or do you like puzzles? Yeah.
Favorite is probably RPGs.
RPGs,
I like making numbers go up.
Yeah.
So that's usually
Great
what I enjoy the most. Yeah.
I guess segueing a little bit into press buttons and talk.
Okay.
I moved a few months ago,
Sure.
and I'm still unpacking. And I was rewatching the Kingdom Hearts press buttons and talk that you did with Mankey and Anne Marie, and
Yeah.
they're such a hoot.
thank
I just
you.
love them. Like I'm a teacher as well, and so sometimes I'll be in my planning block and grading papers. I need something in the background, and I just
Sure.
listen to you guys screaming
Right,
at
right,
games.
right. Yeah.
What is your selection process for those games? The timeline for when you guys are recording. How does press buttons and talk kind of factor into all of your work?
So as far as selecting games, we get a lot of submissions now. So
Okay.
a lot of people send us fan mail and they'll send us games. So a lot of our games that we play, we'll at least try every game we get sent in.
Okay.
And I mean, maybe one day that's not going to be doable, but for now, because we're not like a huge channel, we try to do as much of that as we can, even if it's like 2 or 3 episodes. Otherwise, there are definitely games that we just personally enjoy, like Paper Mario. Not Kingdom Hearts, but Ace Attorney.
Yeah,
we
Ace
love
Attorney.
Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
We've been huge fans of it forever.
Those episodes are great.
Thank you. So yeah, those we definitely and Mario Party like we love. So it's like we kind of choose like our favorite games to play, and there's still ones we want to play, like Paper Mario 2 or there's like some other ones we've been thinking about. And then a lot of it is just what people send in at this point. But yeah, and then I'm glad you know about Press Buttons and Talk. I'm always happy to talk about it. You said you were wondering how it works. Like,
yeah, because you guys will always you say like, okay, we're gonna end the episode here.
Sure.
But like, how long are you guys really sitting and playing? 'Cause, like recording these in advance.
Well, usually, back when, because we used to all live in Michigan, we started doing like 1 hour or 1 day, like, it'd be like maybe 2-3 hours, like sitting and do maybe like 8-ish episodes,
Yeah.
7-8 episodes. And then we started doing like 2 sessions a week, and then that would be about the same amount of time each. Now because we all just recently moved, and Alex or Mankey has just sort of arrived.
Oh, okay.
So we're kind of figuring out what the new schedule is going to be, because I think he has more time now.
Right.
So we're going to see. I mean, it's probably still going to be about the same 1 to 2 sessions a week. We usually try to do, because we try to have a buffer. And so usually we're recording these episodes about a month or more in advance. So when people are like, use this item, you idiot! It's like we've recorded that like
Thing about it.
2 months ago, so that's
At the
nothing.
time.
There's nothing we can do about it. But
You were supposed to jump up on the Hydra's back.
exactly right.
Well.
But, right. So yeah, we usually record about a month or 2 in advance, and a couple episodes per session, about 8-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I know Press Buttons and Talk is like a primarily YouTube content, but you're widely known for from your Vine days to I guess now Twitter and Instagram and all sorts of channels. So obviously those all have different pros and cons and lengths and stuff like that. So how do the platforms and the different channels kind of inform your comedy? I guess do you write specifically for channel centric, or where does it originate from?
I mean, as far as skits, I mean, I just write what I think is funny. I mean, there's not really a specific platform I write towards, because I just cross-post them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with Vine gone, I don't have the restrictions of 7 seconds, so I just keep it. But they still are pretty short, like
Right.
20-30 seconds. I don't need really more than that. So yeah, I don't like. Yeah, I don't like necessarily write towards one platform or the other. Just I write what I think is funny and throw it out there on all of them.
And speaking of YouTube, you've been a vocal critic of some of their practices. Let's say
Sure.
demonetization, for
Yeah.
example. And
Sure.
do you think they've been making progress? What direction do you think the platform is moving towards? Could you speak a little bit about the platform itself?
I think, I don't know. It's very uncertain where everything is going. I do know there is I don't know if everyone's doing this, but I think they're doing this like pilot program where you can you can basically check yourself like, hey, this is not offensive, and then they'll check it manually. But they're basically letting you manually approve your videos now, as long as you're honest. I mean, they check to make sure you are. I think that's a good step in the right direction. I do think that because they are such a big corporation, there's just not a lot of transparency.
Sure.
I think that they need to have more communication with what they are trying to do, at least, or changes they make. So I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, no one is really going to replace it at this point.
Right.
So they're still going to be the number one. It's a mess. So I hope that things get better.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's all the time for us. So where can people find you on the internet?
YouTube, just Google ProZD, PROZD, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff.
Okay.